Welcome to another panel series here on Who's Helping You Heal. This episode kicks off part one of a five-part series we're calling The Soundtrack of Survival. A powerful reflection on how music shows up in our lives as memory, medicine, and meaning. For many of us, music isn't just entertainment. It's been a lifeline. It's how we survived heartbreak, celebrated joy, and made sense of our identity in a world that doesn't always make room for all of who we are. In this conversation, we explore how music shaped our homes, our communities, and our earliest understandings of joy, struggle, and self. This series is about honoring the beats, the lyrics, and the healing frequencies that held us when we didn't have the words. So wherever you are, settle in. Let this be a moment to breathe, reflect, and remember the soundtrack that helped you survive. Let's get it.
We are back in the building with the Healing Squad with a new topic here, right? And this one means a lot to me because music is my love language in so many ways. This one was all about the soundtrack of survival, how music is mental health medicine in so many ways. I have five questions for the panel today. And Ruth says she is going to start us off. Thank you, Ruth. And the question goes, what role did music play in your home or community growing up? And how did it shape your understanding of joy, struggle, or identity? What you got for us, Ruth?
Absolutely. So in my household, I come from a religious background. My mother came from my grandfather was a preacher, so we was always in the church. So in our house, it was always 1510 KDKO. In our house, in our household here in Colorado, we always had gospel playing in the morning because that's what time we knew it was time to get up. And that's what it always played through our house. And my dad had an 8 track and a wheel to wheel and a record player. So some of the music was the Al Green and the Earth, Wind and Fire. So I grew up on a lot of that. But the joy for me and the joy is music for gospel for me, like old school gospel before this new age gospel has come into play. It brings me joy when I listen to a certain song in it, and when I'm going through struggles in life, I can just type in a song, and I'll be able to just listen to that song and allow it to speak to my soul. And then it identifies of who I am in Christ. It identifies, like, for me, I love a good hymn in the very first one, and I know we'll probably get to that question, but for me, it's the blood will never lose its power, because I know for me, Jesus died for me and his blood never loses for me. And so that's why I know the joy, the struggle, and everything else comes with me listening to gospel music. I can hear it all in one with different genres.
I love that. I think for me, like music growing up was an indicator of how the family was doing. It told me if we're struggling, it was certain music, certain songs that were on repeat. I should probably back up. My mom to this day, if she's feeling a certain way or um has a certain emotion, she plays her song on repeat. So for like 3 or 4 hours, it's gonna be three or four songs. So it's like you're going to know that song. So growing up, Chicago, all born and raised in Denver, but all my family's from Chicago. My mom's from Chicago. Like church was big for us as well. So when we're listening to gospel music on Sunday, if it's about God making a miracle happen, that's telling me something that, hey, we need a miracle to happen. We're struggling with some finances. Or if there's something celebrating the will of God or his grace and all these other things, there's a certain other song that's playing. Also, music played like it kind of brought us together in this way on Friday and Saturday nights, kind of told me the kind of week my mom went through as well. If she was paid, it is more upbeat music, and we're listening, it's still Earth, Wind, and Fire, it's Stevie Wonder, it's all those things. If there's some inequity happening, there's more Bob Marley, there's more this triumphed and like we're going to overcome these different situations, which led me to a lot of different things that how I feel about music. But I'm gonna pause there. Land my plane here. I never got to say that, Adam.
Yeah, I think for
Hey,
me, in matching with everything everybody else has said, right? We knew the cleanup music, right? We knew the music when they wasn't happy in the house, right? Whoever the dominant couple was, we knew who was going through the heartbreak, right? We knew who was celebrating their birthday. Saying that to say, music has always been a part of the culture, right? Even pre-colonization, right? And so what we knew about music before our current understanding of what we know now is the harmonic resonance of music. Music was always about the frequency and the beat. So when you talk about, I know I can listen to this song, where there's something about the resonance of that song that touches you and you know it. It's why nobody likes the exact same song. Certain songs just hit you a certain way, which is why I don't understand why people argue with people about what's the best song. Guys, what do we argue about? I know what tunes me up on the instant, right? And so for me, it's the harmonic resonance that when you start to step away from the situations where music was playing, you start to understand how music played a role in healing, in communication, right? In being communal with others. It is central to the dynamic of being in a relationship with anybody in any context. Because no matter your relationship with the person, you share a song. I share a different song with each kid, right? So, like, there's a harmonic resonance, and I want to say this again, which is that natural vibrancy of you and things resonating in that. You're now in that space, which is why certain things hit you. And so certain moves require certain songs, which is why artists in certain times they delivered certain songs with impact because I wrote this when I was going through a heartbreak. Y'all can't tell me Lenny Williams didn't go through something to get that song. That song had just come because he was in there getting loaded. Something else had happened to that brother, right, for that song, because it comes out in that song that no matter what day and age that you play it, the emotion of that song, the resonance of that song is still felt today. And right. And so when I think about this question, how did it play? We all learned how to communicate and to be communal around music in all aspects of who we are. Right. And it's just prevalent everywhere.
Yeah, I think about the role that music plays in our lives and in our home and in our community. It's the soundtrack, right? It's a soundtrack of our life. It's just a matter of what movie's playing and how, when do we press pause versus fast forward. Just kind of thinking of very traditional aspects, right? The cleaning house music, right? You always knew when that music came on, your mom meant business and we were getting it done and you weren't allowed to leave the house until everything was done, right? And if God forbid if you left and you didn't get it done and it was waiting for you when you came back plus some, right? So just thinking about the soundtrack of like the representation that different music meant for different things, right? You definitely knew when there was going to be joy in the house. And, even when it comes to trauma, I can think of a couple songs that to this day I cannot listen to because they are connected with some very, very deep childhood trauma. And for some reason, it always played on the radio at the very same time every night. So, so just thinking about, not only the good things about music that's represented in our lives, but also the songs that are connected to really deep pain that we need to process.
Parents were musicians. So like not only like hearing records that everybody resonates with, right? Like, but also hearing my parents um old vinyls and old demos and things of that nature. So I think it also showed me that anything is possible, right? So like I think of like I can hear my parents' record and it be the same to me as a Stevie Wonder record would be. So like what that does for my confidence in moving in spaces just makes it easy. And I can even think right now, like as a musician and my daughter being a musician now, she's 5. Like she'll hear artists that she sees in Denver and be like, okay, can you call Beyonce up because you know such and such? So like have Beyonce come over today. But her relationship with music does that. So I would say that. And the other thing I think I learned a lot from hip hop and music on affirmation, how to speak positive about myself. So like it's like I tell you, I think I told Coach Adam the other day when that J come on at 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4, you are now looking at one smart black boy. Mama ain't raised no fool. Put me anywhere on God's green earth and I triple my worth. When I hear that, it's like over and over, you know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing. So I say it's related to like being able to speak positive to myself as well in that. I mean, in addition to the things you guys are talking about, but I think sometimes like I came from the era of hip hop that had that in there where in like in some spaces, you know, you go to your school and they don't think that you're that smart. Or you may go to somewhere else and they don't think that you have this type of skill set. So being able to have a place that affirms what you do is big.
Yeah, that's super dope. The ear you got from your parents, right, and going down. Just sort of thinking about. I don't want us to forget about this identity piece of what music brings to the table, right? And just hearing you, Wayne, talk about that legacy of what music is, it's going to be heavily a part of the identity of your family's legacy, right? It's going to be something near and dear to that. But then it also shapes our identities in multiple different ways. For instance, I and each of one of us probably do the same thing, but I'm certainly going to speak for I. I search for music based on how I'm feeling or how I want to feel. You know what? You know what? Let me put this on. I know this is going to change my mood. Or you know what? No, I'm feeling kind of meditative today. You know what? Let me make sure I got some little like it's identity shaping, it's identity forming, it's identity informing. It also creates stereotypes, right? If you listen to a certain type of music, right? Folks like to sort of trash hip hop for this, and I'm going, have you ever listened to the words in country music? Because there is no more slander and slaughter of whatever ism you want to put than in country music. And this is on the strength of the lyrics of where it is, right? Actually, right? And so it's identity shaping. But then if you go and you only listen to metal, heavy metal, people make assumptions about you, right? Or if you listen to deep down underground hip hop, you consider a certain type of hip hop head, right? Or, oh, you want to listen to this? Oh, you're old soul. And people make these judgments about you and they don't fit. So there's part of identity that comes with music that we have not able to shape from or sort of be able to sort of really distinguish. Where's music as a art form of communication? Is it resistance? Is it Black pride? Is it gay pride? Is it whatever, right? Is it also just flat out entertainment? Weird Al Yankovic, right? Thinking about that guy. Look, is it just that, right? Like music is also created for different purposes. And I love who said, I think Daisy was you who said the soundtrack. When you said soundtrack, that started me thinking about identity. The soundtracks also shape the identity of the movie. We hear certain songs associated with certain scenes and we're like, okay, I know I want to see this, right? Because that song has created the energy of that scene. And we're like, oh, I gotta see, right? And so there's some identity sort of shaping in this. And so everything that we think about music and how it makes us feel, other people are using that in their words as well too, which is why everybody who loves that Blood song, when they hear it, is going to navigate over there. But everybody who think that, oh, that new generation, because that song was new generation for somebody, right? I don't fool with that, right? Or it's too old for somebody, right? And you're now in different camps. It don't have nothing to do with the words of the song. If you understand that, oftentimes what we think about music is not of the true artistry of the words in the way that Wayne talks about how these bars motivate me versus, well, you listen to this. Well, no wonder you're a thought. You listen to this type of music. Well, that's got nothing to do with nothing, right? The song is enjoyable. It's infectious, right? I should be able to enjoy this, right? So the identity shaping is both positive and negative, and we have to figure out ways of neutralizing it in a way of how we've talked about it healing. The flip side is it also carries burdens for some folks as well too, because there are folks on this call who said, I refuse to listen to something because it reminds me of that, right? So for all the good that we talk about on music, there's also the other sides when we grow attachment to it, right? And so this is where I want to make sure the identity conversation really comes in, that is really as we think through what we say about music and how we attach who we are to the way we think and feel about music.
Yeah, I love that, Professor, because I think of this question in a couple ways, or maybe view it in my own lens of just me. But then, like Mike, what you said earlier about like some of the music that happens, and it happens to certain movements in the house, whether that's cleaning, whether it's something sad going on in the crib, whether it's a happy situation. And for me, I'll speak when I saw it from my mother's lenses. I think when she played Motown, we were cleaning all day for at least 6 hours. It was just automatic. That was her automatically. When she played Smokey Robinson on repeat, she was in love with someone. She was just something was resonating. When she played Spanish music, she wasn't happy. She was upset in some way, and I identified there was some heartbreak, because Spanish music can really dig in on some heartbreak. And I think a big part of it is I think of my lens and how I identify, like my identity, and I do feel like music really, when I was lost and just trying to find myself, literally, music gave me some identity. And that music was hip hop, right? It brought me to the corner. It told me how to dress to a degree, and I felt comfortable in that dress. I didn't feel awkward. I didn't feel like I was fronting on some shit. I felt pure in what I was doing on that corner. Although I had older folks who couldn't relate to it say, you shouldn't be on that corner breakdancing and doing shit like that, because that's dangerous, right? They thought it was gang banging and stuff at that time. When really, I was just trying to spin on my head and get my groove on and let my parachute pants flow with that. And yeah, those same karate shoes I was talking about in the last panel, right? Like that was all part of that movement. But there was the most silliest things I would walk out and wear, but it was part of that identity. Like we had those damn hats with the checkered flags on the back of them. That shit was ugly. But when I wore it, it was part of my identity. It was like, yo, this is hip hop. This is who I am.